Okay, good evening. We've got about 120 people joining. It's just spooling up next to me in this window, so we'll get started without much further delay. My name's Ian. I think a lot of you have seen me before. I'm the president of UIMLA, but this is about all I'm going to say tonight. I'm going to hand over right now to the members of the working group that are looking at sustainability and environmental issues for us. I'll first introduce Marianne, who's the WIMLA Vice President, and he will in turn introduce our new board member from Spain, Esther. We have Lucian here joining us as well from, well, I'll let them introduce themselves. Thank you very much. Thanks. Over to you, Marianne.
Yeah, thanks, Ian, for introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Marian. I'm the Vice President of UIMLA, and also I am the chairman of the Sustainability Working Group. And Esther is the new member of board, and she's involved in this conservation and sustainability issues. She may say a few things. Then Lucian, who is a member of Norwegian UIMLA Association, also an expert in conservation and environment, so they can introduce themselves. Esther, please.
Okay, hey. So good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being here and be part of this workshop, this webinar. I'm Esther. I'm representing Spain from the AEGM, and now I'm going to be the treasurer of the association, but I'm very pleased to be involved in some other works, like in this case, this environmental and sustainability group. So I work as a guide, and also I work in conservation. So I'm happy to be able to share some of my experience in these areas and to improve the way we work as mountain leaders. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Lucian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lucian. I'm originally from Romania. I'm an IML from the Swedish Association, SFLO, and I'm also a board member in the Norwegian Association. And I'm very happy to kind of share this event with you. And thank you to all those that decided to take a little bit of time for your current responsibilities and work, and decided to put some focus also on issues related to sustainability, which I think is and should be an important part of our work. Besides guiding, I'm also working with sustainable mountain tourism, have been involved in various projects in a few different countries, and also have contributed a bit to the environmental policy that I think Marian will talk a bit more later. So thank you very much.
Let's not waste the time. I think, Lucian, you should continue to talk about one of the main issues, main topics of this meeting, waste on the mountains. Lucian?
Yes, excellent. Just share my screen. Okay, I hope everything is going well. So yes, the idea behind this event today, has a little bit kind of different reasons. So one of the main reasons, or the first reason, is that we are thinking to kick off a series of webinars and different other events that are organized by this Environment and Sustainability Working Group that now UIMLA has since 2021, both in terms of pushing forward this work within the association, and also to highlight some of the important issues that maybe you're already familiar with, but which should get more attention from us, both in our professional time and also as private people. And another reason for today, it's 11th of December, which is the International Mountain Day. And this has been designated by United Nations General Assembly in 2003. So since then, every year on 11th of December, the whole world is celebrating mountains basically. And starting this year, I think also UIMLA wants to give more focus in this direction and contribute towards raising awareness about different issues related to the environment and socioeconomic development that we find in the mountains. And this webinar is like first of this series, and the focus of it, besides introducing this International Mountain Day, is to talk about waste. For this year, the theme of the International Mountain Days is restoration of the mountain ecosystems. So every year it's a different theme. And we can see how this is also related to our work. But before going into that, we can also see a little bit what benefits mountains are providing. So here are highlighted the 5 most important ones. So first of all, mountains are home for almost 1.1 billion people. So whenever we go in the mountains, we also have to think that actually we are going into someone else's home. And besides people living there, also there are important hotspots for biodiversity. And actually half of the world biodiversity is residing in mountains areas. Also from the mountains, most of the, let's say some of the most common food resources that we have are coming from there. So we can think about corn, we can think about tomatoes, we can think about potatoes. So I think basic food that we are all familiar with, and we have to be thankful to the mountains, because that's where these products have developed naturally. Also, mountains are covered by extensive forests. Almost 40% of the forests we find it in mountainous areas. And that's also important for us to understand when we go into these areas with our guests, that how we treat forest is very important. Also, the 5th reason why mountains are important, not the least actually, it's that they provide up to 60 or 80% of the world's fresh water. And we are all familiar with that, because we know that mountains host quite a lot of fresh water, both in form of snow and also glaciers. And also we know that recently, due to the climate changing situation, we are seeing a change in the seasonality of the snow, the amount of the snow, and also quite significant reduction in glaciers. Okay, so now that we have a little bit more idea why mountains are important, we can also go into our main topic for tonight, and that is waste in the mountains. This is something that probably all of us have been seeing in our tours, and this is also, I think, an area where we can make a direct and quite significant contribution. And I will start by presenting some information that is related to a survey that was made in 2021, the Global Mountain Waste Survey, which was coordinated by a Norwegian environmental organization called Grid Arendal, and where UIMLA was actually a partner in this project, together with a few other relevant actors that are involved in mountain tourism. And one of them is like IFMGA, so the other International Guide Organization, and also UIAA was another important partner. And also this, the whole document, or the whole survey is available on Grid Arendal website as a document that you can download if you want to get a few more information, more details. So I will present a few slides that are connected with the results from the survey. Here we can see a little bit, let's say, geographical and national structure of those that participate in the survey. So we can say almost as expected, most of the respondents came from Europe, North America, South America, and some from Asia. The areas with lesser amount of respondents was Oceania, so Australia, New Zealand, and also Africa. In terms of the number of nationalities, so the respondents came from 74 different countries, so that's quite good, let's say, distribution of respondents. And also we can see in the slide, we can see like the gender balance, so slightly more on the male side, 64% versus 35% females. And when it comes to the age group, we can see more or less well balanced between like youth and a little bit, let's say, middle age respondents. And then also we can see that actually majority of the respondents are also members of alpine clubs, 63%. This is a very interesting slide. It shows what kind of waste it's seen most often in the mountains, at least based on the answer from the respondents. So we see that actually plastic, both hard and soft plastic, represents the most common waste that is in the mountains, and then it's followed by organic waste. And then, of course, as we go further down, paper, cardboard, and another important one is the human waste and glass. And then after here, we kind of go down a little bit below 50%. What is interesting is that to see, of course, plastic is something that we might expect to see really high on the results, but the organic waste, it's interesting to see that comes second. And some of the reasons why we see it there is because I think people believe that being more or less biodegradable, it's also maybe somehow okay to leave it on the mountains. But then we have to think that sometimes this type of waste might not belong on the mountains. So I haven't seen many banana or orange trees growing up in the mountains, and also sometimes they come out from different continents. And then because of not being like from the mountains areas, also if we find them a little bit higher up in the mountains, they might actually decompose very slow. And then also in some cases, it can be a hazard for animals, wild animals that might get a digestion problem after eating this kind of waste. Human waste is a considerable, we can say, waste problem, not only because of the aesthetics, but also because it poses direct threat to both people, communities living in downstream the mountain areas where this waste ends up, and also to us that at some point we might need to use, for instance, water sources in that area. And it's very easy that human waste can contaminate water sources. And because of that, of course, we have to be a bit more thoughtful and careful how we deal with this kind of waste. Glass and metal, yes. Maybe not people walking up the mountains, but maybe mountain huts, tea houses, mountain lodges might store glass recipients, something like maybe some wine bottles or some kind of, mostly I would say it goes with alcohol, maybe this kind of glass. When it comes to metal, we can think of course, a lot of tinned food, canned food, that probably is the most common type of waste when it comes to metal category. And then we start going down. So we have synthetic fibers. So it's a very wide kind of category, covers everything from synthetic clothing, tent fabric, I don't know, ropes, all this kind of equipment that ends up as waste in the mountains. What is interesting is also to see what kind of activities the respondents were doing. So we can see that mostly comes from trekking and walking, 82%, and followed by mountaineering and rock climbing, ski touring, snowshoeing, and then of course slowly going further down on the numbers. So I think most of us are doing trekking, walking, and maybe, yeah, also a little bit of mountaineering, not as guiding, but privately. And of course, snowshoeing. So we can see that actually our profession is very representative for this, for the outcome of this survey. Yes, so here I decided to focus a little bit on the plastic. It's both one of the major type of waste that is being found in the mountain, and also the problem is that it doesn't stay there. And it actually, nowadays, we find it everywhere. So from top of Everest to the bottom of the oceans, including in our body nowadays. So it's a lot of research coming out. These microplastics and nanoplastic receives much more and more attention from researchers, also in terms of potential harm to our to human health and human bodies. Here we can see some numbers. So Mediterranean, it has only about 1% of the world waters, but it already has around 7% of global macroplastics. And when we talk about macroplastics, we refer to pieces of plastic that are 5 millimeter or more in size. Also coming back to the Mediterranean, which is a little bit closer to some of us. So every year about 229,000 tons of plastic waste end up in Mediterranean every year, which is the equivalent of 500 shipping containers every single day. So every single day, that's a lot of plastic. And we can see a few more numbers below. So why we are talking about plastic in the sea? Because some of this plastic, of course, originates from the mountains. So the plastic waste that is found in the mountains, eventually some of it will find its way through river systems all the way down into the sea. And then if you're thinking about microplastics, then we are thinking about parts or pieces of plastic that are below 5 millimeters in size down to 0.1 microns. And then the tiniest ones, the nanoplastics, they go below 0.1 microns. So very, very tiny pieces of plastic that can go through filters, that can go through many other, and through our through the cell membrane in our bodies. So things can become quite interesting in maybe not a very positive way. Also, what is worrying is that maybe since 1950s, most of the plastic that has been produced didn't or was not recycled or reused. So most of it, about 90%, ended up being waste or being in landfill or being washed up in the oceans. So most of the plastic that has been produced so far, it's actually out there, and it's harming wildlife and it's harming us. So every year, globally, about 300 million tons of new plastics are produced. And then most of this plastic, as I said, ends up not being recycled or used. And of course, you already know, plastic it's a very strong material, maybe also one of the reasons why it's used in so many applications, but also takes hundreds of years to decompose. So why is it important to think about plastic? Already highlighted a few points, but here we can see actually through research that nowadays it's everywhere, including in the areas where we are working. So from Swiss mountains to Everest to the Pyrenees to all mountains everywhere, we can find plastic in different sizes, from macroplastics to microplastics, and of course nanoplastics. The survey from Everest, so the studies on microplastics on Everest, their conclusion is that most of this plastic actually comes from tourism equipment and mountain equipment and things like that, and clothing and things like that. That shades, and then it's also left on the mountain. Some of it is also transported by the wind. So going back to the survey, where we can see this plastic, and this is what places the respondents identify as having most plastic, waste, and that is beside trails. We can see 81% of respondents seen it beside trail, 77% they seen it in car parks, and also trailheads. So it's a little bit worrying because already things that can be avoided. So beginning of a walk, of a mountain walk, mountain trek, already registers a lot of waste, things that should not be there or can be put in a bin or left in a car are ending up in the mountain. And then as we go up, also resting areas, they register a lot of waste. And then we can see that all the way up to the summit, 54%. That's quite, I would say, quite still a significant number. So from this slide or from these results, we can see that actually there is waste everywhere on the mountain, from the beginning of a trail to the very summit. In terms of the amount of waste that is found in the mountains, according to the respondents, so most of them would say that the amount of waste would fit in the top pocket of a 60-liter rucksack. And then about 26%, they think that half of a 60-liter rucksack waste is found on the mountains. I would say that's still quite a lot. So top pocket, if you think about it, if you walk around, and if it's like can be small, light plastic waste, that it's a lot that can fit in a top pocket of a 60-liter rucksack. In connection with some of the solutions that respondents think would make a difference in the mountains, we can also put UIMLA and UIML into this perspective. So in terms of how we can reduce or eliminate waste in the mountains, one of the main solutions is to adopt principles of take in, take out, and leave no trace, things that we also kind of touch upon in UIML education, assessment, and hopefully also in our professional work. And then second, respondents also recommended or identified that more education would be very beneficial and would actually result in a reduction of the waste in the mountains. And then, of course, more sustainable and reusable alternatives. And this is something that probably also outdoor brands could make a big difference in terms of what kind of equipment they produce and the whole idea of a circular product, circular economy. And then more education. This is, I think, where UIMLA fits very well in this kind of solution hierarchy. And of course, also can touch through this education on the first solution identify as implementation of take in, take out, leave no trace principles. Who should be responsible for mountain cleanup and activities in this direction? Respondents identify the individuals, that's all of us individually, as being responsible for this. And then on the second step comes the Tourism and Trekking Association, and that's where I think UIMLA kind of fits into that kind of category very well. So we can see that actually together, both as an organization and also individually, we can make a big difference. About more than 5,000 professional individuals that are spread in around 30 countries. So that's quite a big outreach. So what UIMLA has started to do in this direction, besides being committed to contribute towards a more sustainable mountain tourism, which is also highlighted in the UIMLA statutes and UIMLA purpose, we also started to establish different partnerships with different other organizations and support different initiatives. One is Glasgow Declaration for Climate Action, and the other one is Global Tourist Plastics Initiative. So these are two initiatives that UIMLA is part of, and that comes with some kind of, let's say, responsibilities from our side, both in terms of raising awareness, but also in terms of taking a certain and practical steps into the direction of either climate action or reducing plastic waste. And here mostly thinking about single-use plastics and also a more circular kind of plastic use, so more recyclable products, reusing more plastics, and also kind of moving to other alternatives in terms of packaging or other things that go into our tours. And this is just the beginning. This is something that, of course, we can work further with, and it's a lot of room for improvement, both as an organization, but also at individual level. Some other steps. So again, as mentioned before, we have environment and sustainability working group that is chaired by Marion, that started in 2021. And what is happening now, it's some outcomes of this working group. Also in Croatia in 2022, we had a workshop on sustainability. It was a very interesting and promising discussion, with a good participation and interest from national associations. And there is now a sustainability policy for IMLs that is available on the UIMLA website. It's a document that we would like to share more with you, and that we would like to work towards implementation. And also, of course, it's a live document, which means that we are welcoming feedback from you, and also aiming to improve and develop this document together. Continuing these directions, we are aiming to organize a few more webinars in next years, and also maybe together with some of you develop some materials and educational support that can be used maybe in IML training and assessment. And also would be very much if those of you interested in this kind of work would be part of this journey. So now I think we have a little bit of time to maybe take some questions. If you have any suggestions or ideas, that would be wonderful. And thank you very much for following through up to this moment.
Lucian, there is a question in the question and answer there. Should mental health benefits not be in the list of why mountains matter? It was at the beginning of your presentation.
I think it's a very good question. And of course, there's a lot of research in this direction. And of course, the answer is yes. So some of the benefits presented before are just those that are selected from a large variety by FAO. FAO is like the UN organization that is kind of coordinating the International Mountain Day globally. So they prepare small key fact sheets and things like that. But of course, the benefits we get from the mountains are much, much larger than what I presented before. And I think mental health, it's an important one, and actually one that gets more and more recognition. And it's a lot of research around this area. And of course, this is something that maybe we can also incorporate in our work. So very good question. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody, if there are more questions about the topic, you can put the question, or if not, we will continue. Thank you, Lucian, for your presentation. I saw it already, and it's always interesting to see it again and again, and to understand our impact and of what we do in the mountains. We go there because we're enjoying the mountains, We like the mountains, we like to be in the nature, but we bring a lot of things there, and we should take care of this. What I would like to do, if there are no more questions. There are appearing. Lucian, if you can see in the questions there. You can read, I can read, and
yeah, I can read the question and answer. Thank you very much. Good to see some questions coming in. So Vladimir asks if there is a difference between long distance hiking and one-day hikes. Of course, if you think about long distance, then the impact can be a little bit distributed. So can be, we can say, smaller, but also it's not necessarily true. So also depends how you organize these long distance hikes. So it's always like many other things in life, how you do it, that makes a difference in the end. And for instance, for long distances, we need more resources, and that can generate more waste if we don't plan it properly. While maybe for only one day, we need very little. So then also the impact can be a little bit smaller. But this is not necessarily true. Again, depends a lot how we organize things. And in this respect, you will see some of the in this environmental and sustainability policy that we want to introduce to you. We are providing some practical suggestions, and also, of course, all of you have a lot of experience, and we're very happy if you can somehow contribute very practical suggestions, which we can collect and share, like best practices, and share, and together we can actually learn from each other and do things much better. Another question is from Susie, and then, or actually it's a comment.
maybe you can read it just to,
yes,
for everybody
and
to
actually,
see.
apparently, one of the challenges is to convince people about not throwing organic waste. It's a very good question, comment, and it kind of connects with the findings from the survey, which of course was interesting to see. Actually, the second category of waste is organic waste. And I think it connects a lot with the fact that we think, okay, if it's biodegradable, it's okay to throw it. But I think if we explain to people that actually, okay, so first of all, things take time to decompose. And second, that what we throw there is not originally coming from the mountains, and sometimes can come from far, far away, then they might understand and change their behavior, because always when we have some reasoning, it's a little bit easier to change than just follow some kind of, just some kind of recommendation that it's, a little bit dry, we can say.
Yeah, I'm just going to put in there, well, just join it. Thanks, Susie, for that question. It's a particular frustration of mine, actually. And I think that, as Lucian says, people believe because it's biodegradable, that is okay. And I think, in fact, what I try to say to people is actually that's kind of exactly the problem. That in some environments, things that biodegrade introduce new minerals, chemicals into the soil around there, which shouldn't be there. And we see grass, for example, growing in places that really it shouldn't be, which is choking out some local plants, which are more specialist for the environment as it should be there. So it's a great frustration. Actually, Esther nodding as well. It's a great frustration of mine.
I would like to add something as well. I think when we find rubbish, even if it's biodegradable, it attracts more rubbish. It's like if you see something that is there already, it doesn't matter if you leave more rubbish. And also, my feeling is that after a hike, if you reach the peak, if you find rubbish, the feeling is not the same. Is that you have reached a place that is not wild anymore. So I think that's a good reason to have all the peaks clean as much as possible, and to take all our rubbish with us. And also, depending on the environment, for instance, near the glaciers and in very cold areas, the bacteria responsible for the degradation of this kind of rubbish don't work at all. It takes a lot of time. It's not like in tropical areas where the waste degrades very, very quickly. So I think there are many reasons to avoid organic waste to be dropped in the mountains.
Yeah, I think it's a very good comment from Esther. Actually, there are some studies showing that people are more likely to litter when they go somewhere and they see there is already waste. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit, yeah, with how we think as people, but if you go somewhere and you find it clean, it's very likely that you will not litter. If you go somewhere and find it a bit, let's say, dirty or waste, then there is a higher chance that people will put more waste in that area.
Lucian, if I can ask to a question, the first one, Balandino Di Donato, who asked if is there any action that commercial expeditions are taking to minimize their impact. I think here it's related. There are two things here. One is the business, the office management and everything, which is commercial. And what's happening there is the manager or the company, most of people there are focused to make money. And they want to be cheap enough to make a lot of money and to go there to do the job, returning again and again and again. That's the majority of companies have in their mind. I think UIMLA, the professional organization, can switch this working with the guides, with the IMLs. And the IMLs, which are leading the trips in the mountains, the groups in the mountains, if they are proper educated, if they have support from their national associations, professional associations, and from UIMLA, I think they can switch a little bit, at least, the way how these commercial expeditions are working. And what Lucian said before, it's very important. Our position as professionals, it's a very important position because we talk with clients, we talk with people going in the mountains, and at the same time we talk with the management of the company. So we're in the middle and we can switch the way things are working. And yeah, I think this, I don't know if this answered to your question.
I can also add a few things here. Yeah. So I think also when we say commercial expeditions, we are talking about a very broad range. So, and that's like many other things, you know, so we have some that maybe are doing more and some that are doing less and some that are doing nothing, as Marian said. Also, when it comes to like the commercial setup, the main priority for everyone is like, you know, of course, profit and making money. But then how we do that, again, that can be different. So we see that there are some expedition organizers that start to put a bit more focus on some things and make some changes in the way they organize their expeditions. We can call them like some pioneers or early adopters in this area. But then I think overall, still, the industry has to do much more. And it's very easy to see this or to know this. We just have to go into the mountains and then we see the results, right? And then also, it's a very complex situation. And I think the change, or like the best way the change to happen is if it comes from different directions. So first, it can come from those customers that have a little bit more awareness, and then they will make a difference between somebody that is organizing their tours in a more green way, sustainable way, doesn't matter how we call it, in a more responsible way, let's say, and somebody that is not doing that. And this is also where you can benefit from this. It's a we can also call it a trend. It's not as strong as it should be, but it's definitely a trend that people are more aware and more conscious about these things. The fact that so many of you are still here now, it shows that also you as you know, individuals are very interested in this. And then this is something that will benefit you also in the profession, because people will start, okay, instead of going with, I don't know, X, Y, Z, maybe I choose an IML that, you know, I can see that is more responsible and it's organizing and offering things in a different way. So it can also benefit you. So it's not just we are taking some efforts just for, I don't know, for feeling ourselves better, or of course, I think and I hope we all believe it's something important, but also there are some benefits on the long term for us in it as well. You know, we are all saying like mountains are all our office, but I think it's time to make this office clean, both ourselves and also those that are visiting this office. We have to keep it clean. And I think together we can, in time, we can make a difference.
There is one last question, Lucian, maybe can from Jura, about fines on spot, or at least at the parking lots.
I think it's a very good question. And I think in some countries, this is happening. It's all about like, okay, can you catch the people, right? So always this, if you see who does it, and if it's enough resources to cover this kind of more like monitoring and enforcing approach, is definitely part of this, as I said, different angles to tackle the problem. So one is changing by like being willing to change. Other ways is to force people to change, right? And this is one of them. So if you litter, if you create waste, then you will be punished for that. You get a fine. But then, of course, majority of the area of the mountains that we go to, there is not much regulation and there is very little control, very little enforcement. So we can see that this is not in itself is not sufficient. It covers very little, like maybe the parking lots and the starting of maybe, I don't know, around cabins or like huts. Maybe the guardians could have some responsibility in this area, or things like that. But definitely it's part of the solution, but not enough by itself. And I think it's quite common maybe where we have national parks, or, you know, like a little bit some kind of stronger regulation and some resources to enforce this.
Okay, I think
I have one more question that just came in a different medium, and it was quite a good question actually. Joe Bradshaw was asking, the majority of waste could be left by trekkers and walkers who are not part of commercial tours and expeditions. Is that a general rule, or is it true or not? And how do you educate those who are newer in the mountains or the outdoors? And I think I just want to say it's a good question, because I think education is a massive role for UIMLA.
Yes, it's a great question. And of course, always there are people that are not part of guided tour. Mountains are open for all, and it's very good. It's like that. And I think one way this can be tackled, it's also what's presented in these solutions. So there are quite a large number of different organizations, NGOs that are active in this area. So this could be something that they can take up, and through awareness campaigns. Also could be something that actually in some schools, so I can tell you some examples from Scandinavia. So for instance, in Scandinavia, there is a very strong outdoor culture. So people from kindergarten, they learn about going out in the nature and doing it in a responsible way. So everyone. And of course in schools and so on. So it's at so many different levels in the society that actually it's so normal to have a responsible behavior in the nature. And if some of you have been to Scandinavia, I mean, anyone, of course, it's very welcome to visit up here, up north. But once you go there, you will see that it's quite clean. And that's because majority of the people going into the nature, they know how to do it. And this is something that maybe also other countries could kind of take up in their education system. You know, in school, that have like, I don't know, a few hours throughout the year that you actually learn how to go out in the nature. So yeah, there are ways to educate the general public also in terms of this of reducing the waste. Could also be that, you know, there is more information at the beginning of these trails, of tracks, you know. I don't know how much is it out there. So also have to be careful not to, you know, transform a mountain in a advertisement board or something like that. But still we have to find different ways to make people aware of what's going on, and also just to understand that we are all responsible, because we all want to find the mountains nice and clean, but then we need to do something about that. They don't stay or become clean by themselves. Unless we don't go there, then everything is fine.
More questions are coming, Lucian. And
yeah, I see one very interesting from Greece. Actually, this is something that it's particular in a way. I heard it in some other places where used to be some conflicts, that actually you can find military equipment, hopefully not active, in the mountains, and this of course is another kind of waste, and it's a very dangerous waste, we can say. I'm not sure how much UIMLA or you as an IML can do about this, but definitely, ideally, the government of your country should do some kind of cleanup in this area, because of course, it's some kind of special waste that has to be treated more carefully, and it's can be potential potentially highly dangerous for people going up in the mountains.
I think in this particular case is about working with defense ministry of defense, with I think it's more governmentally, and yeah, of course, guides or tourism organizations should press the political decisions, some political things here. But as civils, we cannot do many things in this military equipment.
Yeah, there's also an interesting question from Momir. Microplastics. I think this is a very, in a way, hard question. Some things we cannot do about them. So they're already out there. So it's very hard, you know, it's very hard to take this back, these microplastics, because they're everywhere now. So I think what we can do is, first of all, try to minimize the amount of new plastic that goes into the environment. And then some of it can come from our equipment, synthetic equipment, right? Some of it can come from packaging, from everything that is plastic can break down into microplastics. So that then if, for instance, when we prepare a tour, choose to take as little plastics with us on the mountain, it means that already we have done a lot in this direction. It means there will be very little plastic waste. And then also the waste that we take on the mountain, we could take it back down with us. Because of course, the advantage of, in a way, of having plastic is that it's very light. So I think there is no excuse to leave any plastic waste on the mountain. It's very, very light and also very compactable. So you can always take it down with you, and you can also ask the guests to do the same. And I think they will be very happy to contribute towards keeping the mountain clean. And then also there are some special projects that deal with trying to recover some of the plastic from the ocean. So there are different projects going in this area, but like technical solutions. But overall, you know, it's very hard to take back what it's out there. So our focus should be like to, first of all, avoid bringing more plastic in the mountains. And second, if you find plastic, even if it's not yours, just bring it down. You know, that would be amazing. I think your guests will be very impressed by your environmental responsibility, you know. So, and it's light. You can just take some plastic bags with you in the backpack, or yeah, plastic bags again, but or some kind of recipient that you can collect trash together with your guests, especially if you have like shorter trips, you know, then, or if you pass some places where you can, for instance, mountain huts could have a good system to actually collect this trash, and then it could be taken down I don't know with what system they use. In Alps, of course, will be helicopters, unfortunately, but still, you know, there's no way to have a perfect solution for everything. At least we could take down a lot of plastic in this way. For instance, if you go to Nepal, some of you I know go to Nepal, there's an amazing, very good project implemented by Sagarmatha Next. It's called Carry Me Back. So then I think it's from Nanche Bazaar, you can pick up a bag with waste, and you can take it all the way down to Lukla, I think. And then if, you know, thousands of people do that, a lot of waste from at least from that region, from Everest area, would go down very efficiently at very low cost, and then yeah, you'll be part of the solution.
In fact, I saw this. I did this autumn when I went in Nepal, and I saw almost everybody going down with a orange bag with 1 kilogram for free. You know, just carrying all the waste down the valley to Lukla. And I think you answered already to Lenduk, which asked how can we minimize microplastic in the Himalayas. I think it's the same. So
also, I just want to mention something, because now we are talking about waste actually. So I think at some point, for those interested, there are some resources. So we will also try to gather some resources for you. So to have access to more information and more solutions about how to deal with some problems. So there are some materials that we can later on collect and share with everyone. So this is also part of the work we want to do. So we want to create a resource base that you can all access, and you know, we can all contribute to it.
I think all the information will be available in a way or another on UIMLA website. So if you are connected on Facebook group or you are following the website, you'll have this information there. And I would like, thank you, Lucian, for the presentation. It's good we had some good questions, and I would like to move to the second part of our meeting, which is about the new sustainability policy of UIMLA, which is a new document, which a new document of UIMLA which came in force in a way this autumn. It's quite fresh. I will try to share my screen. Let's see, is this? Okay. Works. Can you see my screen? So the policy of UIMLA is a document which came in this form after two years of work in a working group with people from different countries: Belgium, Jean-Francois from Greece, Asteris, Lucian present here, yeah. Now it's available on UIMLA website. And as Lucian said, we are part of Glasgow Declaration for Climate Action in Tourism. And what that means, in fact, means that we have to halve emissions over the next decade till 2030, and to reach net zero emissions as soon as possible before 2050. That's on the document, and UIMLA agreed to work in this direction. The second where is this? The second slide. The second problem is about. So this is about global warming. As you can see, glaciers. We have this along the years, and we think, okay, that happened in 100 years, but we have here in less than 15 years. In the pictures below, the same glacier in less than 15 years disappeared actually in the Monte Rosa area. So this global warming, we can see see it now, we have no snow in the mountains. Ski areas are closing. We want to ski, we can't do this. We want to snowshoeing, we can't do this. Lucian maybe can give some things from Nordic countries where the snow is less and less and more warm, or from Spain where there are many problems there with heat and fires in Greece. So this is real. The second,
Marianne, just one moment. We're not seeing your slides move on. We've just got the front screen. Maybe hit play. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I don't.
We still see the first slide.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. I mean, you can go full screen, but it's still good.
It's better like this. Can you see
Much better.
something? Can you see my slides moving or not really?
Yes, I can now.
Okay.
It's good. Yeah.
Okay. So the other initiative, which UIMLA is part of, is this Global Tourist Plastic initiative. And the idea is that plastic never became waste, and it's used and reused as much as possible. This is the initiative, and UIMLA joined. And as a result of this, we put ideas and things in our policy, how we will work with this plastic issue, which Lucian was presenting before. And the summary, our policy contains 6 chapters on main important chapters, which are transport, accommodation in the mountains, both mountain huts and camping, food, equipment, the guiding tour operator behavior, which was a question before, and how we behave along the trail. The slides are okay, are moving, right? Good. Transport. I think this is one of the most important things. We are traveling from our house, from our city to mountains. And yeah, transport has a huge impact in increasing this greenhouse gas, as you can see in this statistic, and which means actually what? We can see that if we are traveling for 1 day in the mountains and back home, our carbon footprint is very high. So it's better to travel in mountains to stay there. So to travel once and to stay more days in the mountains. As you can see, as a French study, yeah, so the emission for transport is 91% of carbon footprint in a 2 days walk in the mountains. And of course, the aviation, probably everybody knows this already, is a much larger greenhouse gas emitter than other means of transport, which means train or even private car or buses. There are two interesting examples here to travel from London to Chamonix and back. We can see here by plane or by car or by train. And another example from Torre del Paine in South America, yeah, to go from United States to Punta Arenas flight. So things are not really good. So we have to pay attention to the way we travel and how much we travel and for how long. The second chapter of policy is about accommodation in the mountains. And as we know, mountain shelters were originally created spaces where we could stay there overnight, away of dangers, away of cold. And at the origin, mountain huts were very simple, very basic. Everybody enjoying the others, singing in the dining room and things like this. But during the years, things changed, and now we have this kind of mountain huts. Is a hut in the Alps. You may recognize Monte Rosa hut, which actually it's a very modern one and very sustainable. The idea, mountain huts are vital for the local economy and have both positive and negative aspects. Positive aspect is that the quality mountain huts reduce the impact, the environmental impact of trekking or mountain sport in the mountains. And why? Because instead of having 10 tents spread it in the grass, you have just one building and somebody managing the place. You have toilets, pipes, water treatment, and things like this in the building. In a camping, this may not be possible high in the mountains. The negative aspects, one of the most important negative aspects is that the mountain huts are almost the only source of pollution high in the mountains. And the main issues with mountain huts are the supplies, how the goods are going up to the mountains, and then the trash, the garbage going down, cable cars by helicopters, which is using electricity, petrol, then how they are producing electricity and the heating, solar, diesel, hydropower, then how they manage the solid waste management from the kitchens, garbage in general, and not in the last, not at the end, the human fees. Then how they are managing the water treatment, and of course the number of visitors. Yeah, these are the main issues of mountain huts. Also, besides mountain huts, we have wild camping, and we should understand or be aware that in some countries, wild camping is accepted. In many countries, is tolerated, even not officially accepted, but nobody says anything. And it's totally forbidden in other countries, where the law is much more clear and somebody putting in force the law and giving fines and checking the where are putting the tent and going there. Yeah, leave no trace are very important when we go with tents in the mountains. And as professionals, if we decide to go in the mountains, we should choose first the accommodation in the mountain huts, and if not available and we have to camp, to be aware which are the rules in those countries. Can we put a tent or not? All these are described in this chapter, accommodation in the mountains in UIMLA policy. And now we are moving to the next chapter of this policy, which is about food. Of course, food is something very personal. So, yeah, some are vegetarian, some are not. Somebody wants to eat a lot of meat, others not at all. But what we should be aware of, if we want to protect our mountains, we want to protect our environment, is that meat has a huge contribution of producing greenhouse gas. It's a huge one. So everything related to animals which means meat, and then this milk products, these two, they have a huge impact in this greenhouse production. And if we eat meat, we drink milk, we are using this kind of products, but that means we are part of the problem. So maybe thinking twice what we want to eat when you are going on Everest Base Camp Trail, for example, high above Namche, maybe meat shouldn't be an option. Or maybe when you go in the Alps or whatever. But this is really very personal. And I remember when we were talking in our working group about this. Yeah, it was not easy. How can we suggest people what to eat? Of course we cannot, but at least we can put the problem on the table. And come on, guys, look what we are doing if we eat meat like this in huge quantities. So maybe going in the mountains, we should switch a little bit our diet. Yeah. Besides that, food in the mountain generates significant amount of plastic, mainly packaging. And what Lucian was presenting earlier about those bananas and other food, biodegradable garbage, which may create problems locally. Another chapter of UIMLA policy is about equipment. And as we know, we are using jackets, we are using pants, gloves, beanies, boots, ropes, whatever we are using in the mountains. And we have all this equipment. It's have a certain impact on the environment. Besides greenhouse gas emissions, and they are using harmful substances, and there are many problems with this equipment. And yeah, about, for example, jackets, very simple, or food pots. Yeah, these chemicals like durable water repellent, yeah, used for Gore-Tex to be waterproof. This polyfluoride acrylic products. Yeah, these chemicals never disappearing, they are staying there. We decide to choose a cheap jacket from a company, which is a good cheap one, a good one, but a cheap one. And they don't care about what's happening with that jacket at the end of the life. What should we do with that one? We are just throwing away with all those chemicals around. Or we donate those old jackets to local people in, I don't know which country, Nepal, in Peru. We donate to the locals, to the porters. They are using those jackets and then they are throwing there. And all those chemicals will stay there. So that's a huge problem. This just talking about jackets only. Or, yeah, we are washing clothes. We are washing our fleeces, our thermal clothes. Plastic is going with the water, microplastic, as Luciano was talking earlier. And in the end, we'll find that plastic in the ocean. And we'll eat fish with plastic inside. So this equipment chapter gives some ideas how we should behave with our equipment. It's just a start point. Another chapter, the fifth one, is about guiding and tour operator behavior, which was a question earlier. And as I said, the tour operators usually they are mostly focused on business, making money, traveling, being competitive on the market, which is normal, and going as low as possible with the price to have more clients to go. Lower price means what? Means local people, porters, for example, are not paid well. They are using minors to carry our luggage. So social problems, and they don't really take care of environment. They are choosing not so high quality services, local services. They travel, now it's for Everest base camp, you can go there by helicopter and return. That's an option for those which want to pay and they don't care about the environment. They just want to reach Everest base camp. So they go there. And here the problem is, again, from one side, the clients, which always are asking for cheap options, cheap offers, not thinking too much what means cheap. And also guides and the company owners, which usually in many cases are former guides. And UIMLA decided to do something in this direction, in educating new generations of mountain leaders, and hopefully in few years things will start to change a little bit in this direction. How these tour operators, how the mountain leaders are behaving in the mountains with groups, at least in those organized groups. The last, yes, there is another slide here about environmental dimension, social cultural dimension, economical dimension, and racial dimension, which I was talking briefly earlier. And the last chapter is about our behavior along the trail as mountain leaders and mountain guides. And of course, we must lead by example from the beginning of our trip till the end of the tour. And because if I, as a mountain guide, or as a mountain leader, or as just a leader of a non-formal group with my friends, I behave properly, the other members will follow my example, or not. But it's my duty as a leader of that group to try to explain them and to tell them how to behave. Some of them are new in the mountains. It was another question earlier. They have no idea. Youngsters, they have no idea how to behave in the mountains. The guides should be those teachers in the mountains, the mountain leaders. And those not professionals, but with a lot of experience should lead by example. And this policy of UIMLA is just the starting point for everybody around the world, guidelines how to behave in this direction. This was briefly my presentation about the policy of UIMLA. The document is available on UIMLA website, can be downloaded. You can use it for free. You can implement it in your day-by-day activity, in your company, whatever. As Lucian said, is a document which can be adjusted anytime, any moment. And yeah, if you have questions or if there are any, I can give you some answers. There are some questions. Okay, so with increasing importance of providers of the mountain tourism. Yes, so the answer, Mark, to your question, the first point, yes, that's the idea. As a professional federation, the idea is to implement the sustainability education in IML syllabus and the training. So the new generations of IMLs should have better knowledge in this direction. Also about CPDs, yeah, it's obvious. That's why UIMLA decided to go in this direction in the last years. We realized this sustainability, it's more and more important for everybody, for us, for our mountains. In fact, while working in the mountains, and now the mountains are more and more dangerous. The rocks are falling, the glaciers are disappearing, which was safe 20 years ago, now is not anymore. So, yeah, the idea of UIMLA is to go in this direction, to increase the awareness and the training of IMLs.
I think just to say something about CPD, Mark and Marianne, there is quite a challenge for UIMLA with CPD because it has a different context in different countries. In some countries, CPD has a legal or a statutory element which is controlled by the government. So UIMLA certainly would want to set this priority that this should be part of our training and part of our mission, really, as an organisation, but as individuals, it is kind of up to some of the member associations to figure out how to deliver that themselves. So the terms Mark's using about core and peripheral CPD are something that's quite particular to the way it's done in the UK, but a little bit different in other countries. So yeah, we would support this being part of CPD if that was the best way for your association to deliver it. Yes.
Thanks, Jan, for completion. So yeah, Mark, I think I answered to your questions. Another one from Bernard. Yeah, there are companies which are producing quality jackets, for example, without any chemicals. So I think we should support those companies to show them and also to show us that we care about the environment. And I think for them, these companies, they are, it's like in the poker. So they're investing in using high technology without chemicals, which means high costs. So the final product will be much more expensive. And they are not really sure if the customers will accept the final price, which may be quite high. But they are doing this investment. And I think we should support them in a way. Of course, according to our budget, we will not buy a jacket of 500 euros if we don't have that amount of money. But I think we should pay attention which jacket should I buy, if I should buy a new one, or maybe I can repair the old one. Maybe I can send my old jacket back to the producer and will be some kind of reimbursement or replacement there. From Vladimir, if I buy cheap and good waterproof, mostly I have to buy 2-3 jackets per 10 years. I still have my Gore-Tex jacket almost 10 years, and yeah, I agree with you. I didn't say that you should buy a cheap one or good. The idea, what I intended to say, is that you may be tempted to buy a cheap one, which may seem good, but in the end, as you said, in the end, our impact is much higher. We should wear Gore-Tex, another question, we should wear Gore-Tex jackets, but it affects the environment. How can you reduce the impact? It's about choosing the proper equipment. Now we have this technology, we have these membranes, there are so many membranes now. I think when we decide to choose a jacket or a pot, we should try to look for those labels, which they're saying I don't want to give names, but they are saying, yeah, this jacket at the end of the life, you can send it back to us and we'll replace it. You'll pay half of the price of the new one, for example. There are some companies which are giving this option for final customers. So I think this is the way we have to manage this issue with Gore-Tex and other chemicals. I think I answered all. Lucian, if you want to add, Esther, if you want to add something about the policy.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about equipment. So because now more and more brands are aware that they have to make this transition, I think it's a lot of research and development into more, you can say, environmentally friendly alternatives. Even Gore-Tex, they change how they produce their membranes, and now they have actually a different type of membrane. And also many companies move from these forever chemicals that Marian mentioned to some less forever chemicals, we can say, that are used for durable water repellent treatment. And also there are a few companies that produce quite let's say more environmental friendly equipment than others. So unfortunately, the answer here is that we need to do a little bit of research and compare a little bit different products before we take a decision to buy. And then also in this policy, we kind of give you some kind of steps in which you think. So first, you should think that do you really need to buy something new? Can you repair what you have? Can you fix what you have? And you can maybe send it to the producer, or maybe you can just have like a workshop in your town that can fix it at a very convenient price in a good way that you can extend the life. It's also important how we maintain the equipment. First of all, to extend its life, of course, and then second, to also use the right products which have maybe no impact on the environment. Now it's a lot of products out there that are biodegradable and things like that. So we have to do a little bit of research and then come up with some products that are better than the others. And then most of them are also in the same price range, because of course people need to sell things. So it's not like it will be 10 times more expensive. So most of the times things are in the same price range. So shouldn't be like a big issue from a budget perspective to buy something that is better. So we all need to do a little bit of research. We will discuss a little bit if we can provide some more points on this, but that's something that yeah, we have to take it later. And
anyway, these details, some of them which you're mentioning, Lucian, they are in the policy, so you can just download the PDF document, take a look, read, and yeah, then you have some ideas there, and you can make your own research in this direction. What I did in the last years, now I'm much more aware of what I am buying, what kind of clothes. And if I decide to buy something new, if I cannot use my old jackets, my old pants, my whatever, okay, now I'm much more aware, and I try to make an effort to choose better for me, for my children, and for our planet in a way.
I think we have a question from Sam Morton, who has a hand up. Sam, can you? I think you're muted, Sam. Samantha? No? Okay, maybe we come back to that. Mark's posted some information there as well, which is quite interesting, isn't it? I don't know if everyone's can see that. I'll. Okay.
Yeah, it was by mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Esther, if you would like to add something.
Yes, I'll just would like to say the classical 3 words regarding to our consumption or our waste, just the 3R, reduce, reuse, and recycle, and we could add rethink as the fourth R, and I think that's all, just to rethink the way we live, the way we buy, and that's all. That's the last point for me. And just to congratulate to Lucian and Marian and the whole sustainability group, because this document is it's been very good, and I hope in the future it's going to be a very nice tool for all the associations. And if we finally are able to implement it, I think it's a really good point.
What would you like? What would you like to do now in the near future is to move to implement this document at the national level.
Mhm.
So we will ask the national associations to work with UIMLA executive board, with me, with Esther as part of the board, with Lucian as IML and involved in this working group. And how can we implement this at the national level? So that will be the next step. Ian, I think it's time to.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that had taken part, and you know, this is a challenging issue for us. I think we're on the front line of these changes in climate and environment, and we have a duty to each other, but to our clients. If we have 5,000 or 6,000 IMLs around the world in full member associations and aspirant associations, we're now 30 countries around the world, then we see a lot of people during the year. So we have quite a power, I think, quite an ability, and quite an exciting ability as well. And I think that this is something that can be exciting. It's we are facing a crisis, certainly, but there's things can be done. It is considered now, the conversation around COP right now is that while the situation is quite bad, and that the climate goals set out in COP21 in Paris are absolutely certainly being missed. What has happened is that around about a 4-degree temperature change that was forecast at COP21 has now gone down to around about 2.7 degrees. So significant progress has been made. What has also been a change is that people no longer are so ready to deny the realities of this climate change, the change that we see every day, all the time. What is happening now is that people have a certain despair, that they think that perhaps it's too late to act. And I think we have to very firmly with our clients say that it is not too late to act. These policies that we're making in UIMLA are part of that action. We can do something, and we should start now. Next year is 20 years of UIMLA. We'll be 25 full member countries in after 20 years. And this should be one of our major goals, I think, in 2024 to work more on this issue and to make it one of the big goals for our organization. So again, just thank you very, very much to everybody, and welcome again to Esther, our new board member. We have another new board member, Daniela, who will be taking front stage on another webinar later, I hope. So thanks very much to everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Good, and we'll make a video of this available, and please join us on the Facebook group and help us take this forward. This is quite a new area for UIMLA. We're going to do a lot more. So thank you very, very much to everybody.
Yeah. So thank you, Lucian. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Jan, for organizing this. Thank you, everybody around the world. We don't know face to face, but hopefully we'll meet some of you in the mountains. So
yes, and thank you very much. And please get involved in this work. So you're more than welcome to be part of this journey. We can only achieve things together.
okay.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.